All right, welcome everybody. This is the finale for the Add1Challenge 24 and 25. So we're basically gonna answer any questions that people have and talk to the two polyglots that are our guests tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. You guys like to introduce yourself quickly and tell us what you do and what your name is and where you're from. Richard and Vlad, thank you.
Richard can go first.
Okay, thank you, Vlad. I will then. I won't do the British thing and go backwards and forwards 100 times. Well, I'm Richard Simcott. I'm originally from the United Kingdom, live in the Republic of Macedonia. And I run a little conference called the Polyglot Conference, which we just had in Iceland. And we got about 400 lovely people who love language attend. And next year we're going to be in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, for a great weekend and maybe some other days in the run-up to it together to have a lot of language fun. So I invite anybody who is interested in getting to meet other people who love language and want to learn languages to come along, listen to some great talks on various topics, and feel energized and motivated to continue with your own studies as well. And yeah, just reach out at polyglotconference.com. There's a Facebook page as well, Polyglot Conference. Okay, that's me. Over to Vlad.
Beautiful.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vladimir Skluteti. I originally come from Slovakia. Currently, I'm residing in Berlin, in Germany. I'm an interpreter of Mandarin, Chinese, Slovak, and English, and I teach these languages as well. I have a blog called foreverastudent.com, and I sometimes am a judge the Add1Challenge along with Richard and Jan. Jan unfortunately couldn't be here today because he has a wonderful family event. So we'll try to do our best to judge as a double with Richard today.
What happened? You just post some Russian show. Can you tell us really quickly what's that all about?
Yeah, I've recently in August and September, I've been to Russia twice in the Russian television to attend a show which is called Удивительные люди, which is basically something like America's Got Talent or Superbrain, I think, is the British equivalent. And it's the biggest show in the history of Russian TV. 90 million people were watching it. And I finished second. So that's a small success that I had in my life. And now I can live happily ever after.
What's your special talent, if you don't mind me sharing with us?
My special talent is I can juggle 25 bowling balls. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I was just speaking languages, the languages that I know, and yeah, everyone had a different talent. There were people who were what's it called? They were playing chess blindfolded with 50 people at the same time and stuff like that. So different types of talents, and mine was languages.
Wow, you do go far. Your language is really good. See.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So why don't we just? I'm not so sure we're gonna do. Let's just go with questions. If anybody who are in the Hangout have any language learning question, and you can feel free to ask Richard and Vlad right now. No, they're just waiting for us to announce the winner.
Oh,
okay.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
How do you? I was waiting to see if anyone else went first. So, how do you deal with sounds that don't exist in your native language? Like when I was studying Czech, I had a real trouble with the roll of the Rihacek. I still can't get it. So I manage it sometimes, so I know I can do it, but I can't do it consistently. So how do you approach learning that?
You and a lot of Czech people who have a lot of problems doing that as well. Even native Czechs have difficulty pronouncing it from a young age, and a lot of them have to go to special training to have it to learn to pronounce it properly. So it's not the end of the world if you can't pronounce letters like that. There are certain sounds that just in the languages, there are people who can't make the sound as it's described as the standard. Same goes for rolled R in Spanish or in Italian, or in any language where they roll the R's. You find native speakers that have to make a R sound. So instead of perro, they say perro. And you'll get that the world over. So I think if you find a sound like that challenging, first of all, identify, is it a sound that other native speakers or fluent speakers of the language can't pronounce either? And is there an alternative that is acceptable, that people readily understand? So that's the first thing. And then Vlad, I'm sure, will expand on some other ways of how you can train the pronunciation of words. What we used to do is simply, at university, we'd record our voices and we'd get feedback from a native speaker on how we sounded, so we could hear how we sounded compared to the original. And then also we'd actually ask where the sound was coming from in the throat or in the mouth. So we'd ask for tongue placement, we'd ask for what the native speaker was doing to make the sound, and then try and do it that way. And then again, we'd record ourselves doing it. We had to do that for Swedish for a year. Our teacher said to us, if there's one thing you'll be able to do by the end of this year, even if it's not speaking Swedish, you'll be able to pronounce the IKEA catalogue.
Actually, I was very interested in hearing what Richard would have to say about this, because I always wanted to know how he does it, how he has the amazing pronunciation that he has. Me personally, for instance, what I do, I try to, what worked, I'm not saying that I do this all the time, but what consistently has worked over the years was to listen to the language for some time, to exaggerated versions of it. So for comedians speaking in it, or TV shows, dramas, and stuff like that, without reading it. So without having the connection to, the visual connection to the, I guess, the triangular connection between the sound, the letters, and what is in my mind. So the letters of the text, because often I will then associate some other pronunciation of the letters that I have in my mind already, and not the ones that necessarily are associated with those letters in the language that I'm learning. So maybe for some time I would listen to stuff like this, and it kind of creates this correct model of the sound somewhere in the back of my mind. And then when I speak and I listen to myself, at least I know that I'm doing something wrong. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, like, for me personally, the sounds that exist in all languages are sounds that need to feel well in the mouth. Like if you're pronouncing something and you're struggling with your tongue and the muscles and it doesn't feel right, it probably means that you're not doing it right, because otherwise probably, I guess, the sound would not just exist if it would be too difficult to pronounce, technically. So I'm trying to find that position in the mouth where it feels right, where it just feels natural, and just try as many possible combinations as I can. And once I have it, then I just memorize the position of the tongue, or the approximate position of the tongue in my mouth, and also this part of the throat, which is I guess this is where the vowels are. I mean, that's my understanding of it. Maybe it's not right, but the consonants are somewhere in the mouth, so teeth, tongue, lips, and so on, and the vowels are somewhere back. That's how I understand it. And I just create this basic model for the sound or for the language, and then try to say the sound again, or the speak in the language that I'm speaking, and I just kind of try to stay around that area in the mouth. And with a lot of practice, it usually then just clicks, I think. And then, and this is a long, like a huge topic, and we could talk about this forever, but I try to make it like a sort of like a top to bottom approach. So not concentrate on individual sounds too much, but make it like a more like I said, like a certain position in the mouth, which is the starting position for all the sounds that exist in that language. And I try to stick around over there, and then just sort of exit towards, or like move towards the positions for the sounds that exist in that language. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself too well, but that's how I feel about it.
Great question and great answers. Great. Anybody else have any question?
Yeah, I've got one. I was in Reykjavik and it was great, so thanks. One thing that I've noticed in the community though is that a lot of us tend to self-deprecate about our languages and say that we don't speak a language when people outside the community actually probably would say we do. Like I have friends who will go and have conversations in a language and then still say that they can't speak a language. And I know because I've done it myself as well. So I think as well that maybe hinders us in making the community more welcoming. And I was wondering if either of you had any advice about how we get over this as a community and use it to kind of make people more aware that learning languages is fun and making any kind of steps to communicate with others is a really great thing.
Yeah, I totally take on board what you're saying, actually. I think that one of the issues is that if we say we speak a language and we only know a little bit, or we know that we're kind of like this basic A1 level, maybe A1.1, not even the full A1. Sometimes because we're used to learning languages, we can do a lot with a small amount of a language. And I think we're just aware that actually under normal circumstances, we wouldn't say that we speak the language. It's just that when we speak and someone else sees us from the outside, because we've already gone through all those stages in one or two other languages, it makes it look like we're doing or done the same already in the new language after a relatively very short period. And I think just to protect ourselves, that we don't come up for any criticism of, oh, you run around saying you speak all these languages, you keep adding one all the time and saying that you're fluent in all these languages. I think it's a self-protection mechanism that kicks in and we say, well, no, yes, I can say things, but no, I don't speak it well enough yet. I don't know if I don't know if that's something I would fight against. I've got to be honest. I think that it's good to know where you are with it and to be realistic. You know, I think sometimes what we do is we do down what it means to be at an A1 level in a language and what it means to be at an A2 level in a language. And I actually think that you can do a lot more than you think at the end of an A1 course, and you can do a lot more than a lot more than you think at the end of an A2 level course. And people often dumb down what that means and the amount of work that goes into getting those levels. I mean, and I speak from the experience of having had the sort of the desire to understand properly what it means to sit those exams and actually pass those levels officially. And I did that with Turkish. I did A1, A2 and B1 in Turkish, sat the exams. And actually I found that after A2, I could go to Turkey and I could get around fairly well. And, you know, and it was always, I always had this impression from the community that A2 you'd done in 2 weeks. Well, actually, no, A2 took me a year to get to in a language, and that was of a lot of study a week, because it's not just saying basic things and messing around with a few words. It's actually all the vocabulary that comes behind that to be able to go to a restaurant and confidently talk about lots of different things that you may not use in a very showy display in a 3-minute exchange with another person. And so maybe that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but I think I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, actually, no, I don't speak it very well. It's just that I know how to manage these words that I've learned, which aren't that many, and you can do the same. And all you need to do is learn this key of how to manipulate language, the small amount that you have, in a way to use it in many different contexts. And I think that's the key difference that language learners do when they appear to be very fluent, or much more fluent than they maybe actually are in terms of the levels A1, A2, B1, B2, etc., etc. Because I've met people who are even have a B2 level in a language in terms of richness of vocabulary, accuracy in grammar, or even knowledge and understanding. But then because they lack the confidence to use the language, they appear to have a lower level. And then you get somebody else comes along and they've gone through like 3 chapters in 2 weeks of a book, and they're just using it all and not afraid to get out of their comfort zone and speak. And that B2 person maybe can spot it, but sometimes actually they're even mystified by how this person's picked it up so quickly. And I think that's what it is. And I think if people in the community are saying, actually, no, my language level isn't that good, I think they should, instead of not saying that, qualify it and say, I just do well with a small amount of language, to make it appear that I can do more than maybe I can. And sharing more than just the I don't know much, and just going into a little bit more detail. And then I think that way it makes everyone around listening feel that they're not listening to some sort of genius, like mastering a language after like 2 weeks. And it doesn't make the language feel for them unreachable and unattainable. It just makes them understand more what's going on. And that's a very long answer to a question, and possibly not in the direction you expected, but that's how I feel about it.
No, it's really interesting. Thank you.
It's a very deep question, and Richard made it even deeper. What can I add to that? I think honesty probably is the word that I would sort of concentrate on. Like, be honest to yourself and to others, and everything should be all right. like, if you honestly think that you've put in a lot of time, and you honestly think that you do speak a language and you have high standards, then that's the most you can do. And what others think about you, I'm undecided on this. Sometimes it's I don't care, sometimes I care a little bit. The question is it important? I don't know, but I would think just trying to be honest is at least I hope I try to do that. So from my experience, if people are honest, they can go wrong a lot of times. So
Great. All right, we're getting questions that we haven't heard of before, finally. Because we always get the same questions, right? Like, how do you maintain multiple languages? All right, any other?
But we get better and better at answering them.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yes, it's a question because I would like to choose a language for next challenge, and I would like to know how hard is Slovak.
Richard, please answer this question.
So maybe Vladimir, you could answer me, because I've got some friends. And I see them every summer. So I've got a friend from Poland and a friend from Slovakia, and I can't pronounce Polish because there are too many consonants, and I am slightly dyslexic, so it's really hard for me. And I was wondering if I could give Slovak a try.
I honestly don't know. I don't think I'm entitled to answer this question because I never had to learn Slovak. So, but Richard has, and Richard has learned Czech very well. So maybe you can shed some light onto this, please.
Okay, I'd say out of the 3, Czech, Slovak, and Polish, Slovak is the easiest to learn.
Okay.
If you don't speak another Slavic language, simply because the pronunciation is a lot more simple than Czech or Polish. There are less sounds to make. I think that also the grammar actually feels a little bit easier than the other 2 as well, in terms of the kinds of the conjugations and the case system. It feels more regular and less convoluted. So I'd say Slovak is an easier one, and the advantage of learning Slovak is that many Czech and Polish speakers understand it quite easily. So it's a very good sort of in the middle of the road language in that part of the language family to learn. And also it gives you access to Ukrainian, strangely enough, too. So a lot of Ukrainians will say as well that they find Slovak easier to understand than the others. And I think so for traveling, yeah, Slovak is pretty good in that part of Europe. And once you've sort of got a handle on Slovak, I think getting into Polish and Czech whether it would be easy to keep them apart is another question, because it's quite challenging to do that. But you can definitely hear more of the language and get more familiar with both of those languages as well through the medium of Slovak, because Slovak sort of breaks you into it gently. So yeah, I mean, I went to it after I'd done Polish and Czech, and I found Slovak, yeah, quite an easy ride compared to the other two. So that was kind of what my experience with it, and going there as well. I mean, if you make mistakes and things, people are very happy for you to speak Slovak. They enjoy listening to foreigners speaking the language, and I found people very encouraging. Surprised but encouraging, because I don't think they get that many people who come over as a visitor, to learn the language. But there are some good course materials as well. I thought the colloquial book that I used to learn it was quite good. I found it quite easy to approach, an easy approach to the language. And then there are some books actually in Slovakia, Krizem Krožem, that I think are fairly good. So yeah, in fact I have them here to show you, just a sec. These are the Krizem Krožem. These books you can actually get in Slovakia, and I think you can order them online as well. So I now got the B1 and the B2 books, but they have A1 and A2 as well. The thing that's nice about the books that you get printed in the country are that if you're going there and your goal is to be with friends and be in like a situation where you're in a house, these will go into more detail about daily vocabulary that you use, whereas traditional learning materials that are sort of sold on the international market are great as a good, so I would use things like Colloquial, Teach Yourself, Assimil, all of these books that you'd see normally. They're good before you go, but if you're actually spending time there, I'd say invest in one of those or two of those as well, so that you deepen your vocabulary in terms of things that you would see and hear on a daily basis in the country. Because what the other courses do is they tend to take you through the grammar as quickly as possible to get you to a B2 type level in terms of the grammatical knowledge, but they don't have the space to be able to take you through the vocabulary that goes along with all of those levels. And I think this feeds into the question we had before. People will complete one of those courses, think they've got a B2 level, and they kind of dumb down A1s and A2 levels, which will be a full book, the same kind of thickness as a B1 or B2. But to get the vocabulary, you really need to go through an entire course to do that, to have that background. So yes, Slovak's easy, Slovak's good compared to the other languages in the group. And of course, Vlad is always happy to talk, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Wow. These are awesome answers, guys. Thank you so much. I missed these Add1Challenge Q&A thing now. Jeez. All right, so I think, is there any other question? One more, if there's anybody have anyone. More question.
I have one more question.
Okay, last one.
How do you find people to practice speaking more complicated topics? The things I want to talk about, but I wouldn't expect a native speaker to know the vocabulary for it unless they were also interested in that subject. So I'm finding a bit of a struggle to find people to talk to.
Wow, that's a good question. I have never thought about that. Meetups, I guess, and just hope for the best that you will meet someone that likes to talk about the things that you like to talk about. No, I really don't know. Here in Berlin, there are some wonderful meetups for basically any language that you like to practice, and there are also polyglot meetups, and I would just go there. italki, I guess if you really, really search a lot, you might find someone. But I'm just, I'm not. This is what I would do.
Okay, I'd go this slightly different way, Antonia. I would say, if you've got a topic that you want to talk about, but you don't think that your partner will be able to have an engaging conversation, tackle it differently. Create a presentation on the topic that you want to talk about, as though you're explaining or teaching the native speaker, and then invite them to ask questions so that you can discuss the topic and explain it to them more. And that way you're going at it more like a teacher-student type scenario, where you're helping the native person engage in a conversation that they're not used to speaking about either. So it actually helps them to also put themselves in their position of being the learner and in their own language. So you could potentially do that. Another thing I would do is look for news items on the topic, depending on what it is, and use those as a basis of a debate or discussion, and ask them what they've heard about before in the local media on that topic. And then, you know, you can get news items on all sorts of things, from science to history to wars to anything you like. You can normally find something that you know has been raised in the media, and then you can use that as a basis for discussion. And then if all else fails and you want to actually just talk to somebody who has that specific knowledge, I'd look for interest groups either online or in the city, whether you're there, and try and find groups of people who talk about it. So it could be an online course, it could be, you know, one of those, you get the free courses that now online with universities, could even be you reach out to university students or professors and try and engage them and ask them to read their research. They may even be interested to talk to you about it, so that you can discuss it. I mean, it really depends on the topic, so I'm speaking very generally here. But certain things that you can do, you know, join clubs. So if you're in the country itself, join a club. When I was in Czech Republic, I learned to dance salsa in Czech. You know, and so you're talking about things that people wouldn't necessarily be talking about in a bar or in a you know a normal environment. But you can definitely find, there are definitely outlets for that, and I think, as a learner of a language, your ultimate goal is to practice that vocabulary. And I think even if it's just presenting a topic to your teachers and doing that kind of thing over and over again, pick different teachers from italki, try it for different audiences. You can then actually just hone and refine your skills by doing it that way, because you're getting the same practice over the same topics and same vocabulary over and over again.
Thank you. I hadn't thought of that. So maybe I could get like a news article and contact an italki teacher, like send it to them in advance, and maybe we could discuss it in the lesson.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Wow, you today, what's going on, huh? You're very sharp. All right, let's move over to ticket for Add1Challenge 24. Please introduce yourself. 24, all three of you are here. Just say from what language you're learning and out of the Add1Challenge, or whatever you like to say. Gabriella, Isabella, Antonia. Who likes to go first?
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Well, I was learning Mandarin in Add1Challenge 24, and I had a bit of an advantage because I was actually living in China at the time, so that was fun. Don't know what to say other than that. Had trouble speaking and listening because I was very nervous whenever I had to talk to anyone, so sort of clammed up. But towards the end, get over that a lot more, I think.
So how did the Add1Challenge help you in learning Mandarin?
It was useful to see other people struggling as well, so you know it's not just you, and you can ask for advice, and there's a lot of support from the Add1 community, which really helped me get through some sort of rough patches.
Great. Thank you, Antonia. Where are you now?
I'm back home in the UK, and I've got my sort of makeshift background here because my VHS collection is behind it. It's kind of embarrassing.
We won't judge. We're all is good. All is good. Okay. Who's next? Gabriella? right. Isabel?
I think we can't hear Gabriella.
Isabel, can you go first?
Yes, I can if you want. So my name is Isabelle. I am French, and I took French Sign Language. So that was my third challenge. And I decided to learn French Sign Language because I had a talk with a colleague who can sign, and she told me that after Italian, the grammar part will be very easy, but it was a completely different language to learn. It's not like any other language. I mean, the one we are used to. And the problem was the word order, because it's different from the word order of a regular sentence in English or in French. So that was very difficult. And it's very difficult because there are a few books, and all materials are videos. So I got to record all the lessons, and my computer got crammed with videos. It was, and what helped me in the Add1Challenge was mini challenge 2, because when the others had to write sentences, I wrote the sentences in English and in French, I think, and then for the first on the first line I copy paste the link of the video I made. So I made 16 videos of 10 sentences every day instead of writing sentences, and that really boosted my vocabulary.
Great.
So that was good, but it was really tedious and long. So I decided. Normally I do the 30 sentences, but this time I only did 10 every day. That was enough.
Only 10.
Yeah, only 10, yes. Only 10, because I had to make the video and the subtitles, and I added some music, and so I made 16 videos, only 10 sentences, yes. And that was good. Right.
Wow.
But just to finish with, I discovered I didn't know any deaf people, so I met my teacher, who is deaf, right? And I had to discover a new horizons, I mean, this world of deaf people and all their problems, and what they do to overcome the fact that they are deaf. And it was very interesting. That's it. Finished.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I had to change browsers. I think you weren't hearing me since the beginning. I were hearing you, but not the other way around. But
I can hear. We can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm Gabriela, and I'm from Brazil. So my native language is Brazilian Portuguese. And in the Add1Challenge 24, I learned German. And I decided for German because I moved to Switzerland for my work, even though they don't speak German. I'm learning High German, so German from Germany, and here they speak dialects. But I decided to go for German to learn all the grammar first, and also because this would be more suitable for my work. And before the Add1Challenge, I was just learning language like English or Spanish. That before the Add1Challenge, I've learned via normal like classes and homework, and not really. I discovered italki and a lot of other resources via the Add1Challenge that helped me a lot. So especially on talking, and I was very. I was never talking to people. So I was here already for a year, and my German was pretty bad because I was just learning grammar and doing the exercise, but not really have confidence to speak with people. And with the Add1Challenge and of the mini challenge, I discovered Italki, so I discovered people that were, and then in my job, I discovered people that wanted to help me to learn German. So they were, so you learn in German, I can talk to you. And we start to have meetings during lunch or coffee breaks, and they would just speak German with me. And they are doing even now after the challenge. And yeah, and now I after the challenge, I put myself out a little bit more and discover that people actually are willing to help.
Great. Really inspiring story, all of you. So, are you crying a little bit, Gabriella?
No, I'm sick.
No? Okay, sorry.
I'm sick, sorry.
All good, all good, all good. All right, so before we announce the winner, anything you guys like to say to the judges?
Yeah, I think you all did a great job. First of all, I think I say this each time when we do the Add1Challenge, but it's true. It's so encouraging to watch the journeys, and it's motivating for me as well. As somebody who learns languages, just to see people growing in the language knowledge. So I think you have all gained something from the experience, and I'm sure, as you've actually just said now, you recognise that. And I've been on the journeys with each of these kinds of languages. The sign language resonates particularly with me because I remember doing British Sign Language, and so watching that journey it reminded me of the time when I went through a similar process many years ago in the UK, and I found it very rewarding too. Of course, the spoken languages are also a lot of fun, but I think whoever wins in terms of having the final prize, you're all winners because you've all got such a lot from this experience. Clearly, new skills that you can use and are affecting your lives in a positive way already.
It's always very hard, because it's many things that are at play here. You all have basically taken 90 days of your lives to participate in this challenge, and I always take my due diligent time to assess everyone very thoroughly. So I always have, I take notes and try to do my best sort of to give back. And I basically live in a bubble because I'm a professional. I'm an interpreter, and languages are basically how I make my money. I never really get to see people who learn languages for fun, and it's a completely different world. It's always so nice. Congratulations to all of you that you like to do this and enrich your lives. So first of all, congratulations to all three of you. I don't know if we should start talking about who stood out or who didn't. We ended up having two candidates for the first place, and then I had to consult with the grandmaster himself, Richard, to choose the winner. And I don't know if we should announce him right now, or Richard, would you like to say why you picked the one over the other?
No, let's just announce the winner, because they all did an amazing job, All right. So the winner 24 is the winner is
Woo!
Anything you'd like to say, Antonia?
I don't know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting that.
Amazing job. I mean, I know all of you put in a lot of effort. but we can only pick one winner. So good job, Antonia. Good job, Isabel.
Thank you.
Okay, so for Add1Challenge 25, introduce yourself. Tilda and Daniel.
Okay, I can. You can go first.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dan. I learned Mandarin in this challenge. A couple of weeks before the challenge, I started watching pinyin and pronunciation videos to be all ready to go, and then spent probably a month having fun, and then the next month really struggling with not being able to understand anything. But we had a really great group of people, and I think constantly chatting with everybody in the group, and doing videos and audios almost every day sort of helped keep the motivation going. Yeah, I had a great time trying to learn this language. Definitely more difficult than other languages that I've done through the challenge. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Beth, and although born in the UK, like Vladimir, I also live in Berlin. And I took on Spanish for this challenge. And actually, I was the stereotypical learner that Richard was talking about earlier, because I'd been learning Spanish since I was 11, but I was terrified of speaking it to people, absolutely terrified. So I was fine if I could sit in my room and write my little speech up, and that first video was completely and totally scripted because I just didn't have the confidence to spontaneously go up and talk to people. And Add1 was so amazing for me because I have a lot of Spanish-speaking work colleagues in my job, and they would constantly go to me, but Bethany, you've been learning Spanish for so long and you've got all these qualifications in Spanish, but you won't talk Spanish to us, and it doesn't make any sense to us because you clearly understand everything we're saying when we're talking to you. But I just couldn't. I would totally freeze, especially in that working situation, because it was like, oh my God, this is like a professional situation. I can't be seen to be making a fool of myself. And going through the Add1 experience with the support of the people in my group, of which Dan and Tatiana were two of the most important ones, because they really did motivate me every day to keep going. And together with my work colleagues who were really, really encouraging, and were like, come on, we're going to go for lunch and you're going to speak Spanish to us the whole of lunchtime. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. And like, but you're doing this challenge, so you've got to do it. So I went and did it. And then at the end of it, I finally cracked the intermediate plateau that I've been going at since I was like 18, so nearly half my life. And I was so pleased that I'd finally got over it and could kind of go, yeah, I speak Spanish.
Wow. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Good on you. Good job. Good job, Beth. So proud of you. Okay.
Should we say something for Tatiana? For those of you who don't know, she was studying Ukrainian in the challenge, and I know Ukrainian has special meaning to her because of her family. As Beth mentioned, Tatiana was a great motivator through all of our daily conversations. And when we went through recording audio or video files, Tatiana was almost always, I think, the first one to record a video. So it's unfortunate she can't be here today.
Thank you so much, Dan. So you guys are in a group, yeah?
We all became a group.
Great. That's what matters. Doesn't really matter, you know. As long as you guys.
Yeah, I don't think none of us were in the same mastermind group, but we ended up sort of collecting. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So unfortunately, there's no flight ticket for that Add1Challenge 25, but we can still announce the winner. And you can still get something that I will give you. So the winner of Add1Challenge 25 is Beth. Yay!
Congratulations.
A Spanish speaker.
Wow, thank you. I really, really wasn't expecting that, especially as the other two finalists were so, so deserving, and I couldn't have done it without them. So thank you to both Dan and Tatiana.
Yeah, you guys are all, it's very hard to pick a winner every time for us because you guys all have such inspiring story, or you wouldn't be here because you. Now, I'd just like to say, so for everybody who are here, 24, I would like to, what you get, of course, is one of the Benny Lewis series, one of the books. Series that Benny rated not long ago. You guys. So if you guys want one and you pay for, send you one for free. So if you want or not, Richard and Vlad, you guys are not included, but if you guys really want one, then I can send you one too. All right, so that's it. Let's see, does anybody want to say anything else?
Just want to say thank you for having me here again as part of this. It's been really great. Congratulations to all of you once again. You did a fantastic job, and yeah, keep going with your language learning.
Same thing for me. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor to be a judge alongside with Richard and Jan, and wish you lots of success and luck in your further lives and language learning lives as well.
Great. Thank you guys for being here. It was a blast. I missed that one challenge, to be honest. I mean, this is just fun. You guys are great and so inspiring. So finale will be the last finale that I'll host, and I look forward to you guys in the next Add1Challenge. And thank you, everybody, and take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.